neighbor offered to let me use this here stump grinder that he had rented and used and finished with it. And he knows I like to grind stumps and cut down trees and do that sort of stuff. So, and I got a bunch of stumps around here that I didn't get last time I got a stump grinder. So this would give me the opportunity to knock some of those out. And I thought maybe I'd show you guys a little bit about how these things work, what to expect if you go rent one. Now this is a typical rental unit here. The rental one that I rented last time was a little bit different. And one thing to be sure of when you rent these things is make sure that the cutters are fresh and sharp or new when you rent these things, because if it doesn't have good cutters, you will spend all day wearing yourself out just trying to get rid of a few stumps. This one here has got pretty good ones on it, is what I can tell so far. Let me give you a look at it in here and show you how some of the controls work and what to expect if you were to rent one. Oh, and by the way, be sure and get you some safety glasses or sunglasses or something sturdy to protect your eyes, because these things, they throw all kinds of chips and rocks and you name it, dirt, whatever, when you're doing this stuff. And if you got a face shield, that's great too, because these pieces of wood hit you in the head and it don't feel good. But if you get hit with a rock or something coming off this thing, it could kill you if it hits you right. So be sure and wear the right protection when using these. But let me give you a couple things here about how these things actually work here. This one here is a nice one. It actually has the ability to steer. This is straightforward. This engages your one side and this engages the other, and it actually will steer it back and forth. And you can do the same thing with reverse, straight reverse, and you can steer it. The one that I got last time did not have that. You had to fight with it and put it where you wanted it, and that's not good, especially if you're not a big dude to be able to hoss that thing around. So that's one of the things you want to look for when you're renting one, is that it does steer. Here we got simple controls. We got our ignition switch, throttle control, and this is your choke here. This is where you to go ahead and choke it to help it get started if it's cold. And this is your boom control here. It's actually got a little micro switch in this top here, and that's what engages it. You have to squeeze this thing, push your button, and then once you got your button pushed to start it, you can just hold on to it. If you were to let go, it's going to cut your cutters off. So to start it, just squeeze it, hit your button, you can let off and go ahead and use it. And this will swing this thing. This will raise your boom up, push your boom down, and side to side. One of the big things with using these things is you want to be sure and just barely get on your stump and go across it back and forth. If you dig in too deep, it'll actually stall this thing out or cause it to jump and buck on you. And you really can't help that happening because you really can't see the cutters very well. But if you have that happen, you just simply lift back on your boom a little bit and get it to ease off of it, and then you can ease back into it and get it in the right position. And this is your cutters, what I'm talking about here. And you can see they don't really look like much, but these things, when they come across the front here, that's what actually knocks the wood loose and chips it up and gets you these big pieces of mulch here that comes off of your stump. I always ask them, is your cutters good and sharp before you take off of this thing? As you can see, we're going to jump it off because the battery's dead on it. One of the things that will save you some time and your machine, especially if you only got it for a day and you got a bunch to do, is make sure your stumps are chopped off. As you can see, these here are not. I actually had left them up there, so I thought I could get them with the excavator sometime when I got one to use over here. But then every time I've ever had one, I didn't have time. So I'm gonna go get the chainsaw and cut these off as low as I can. You don't want to get it so low that you end up messing up the chain on your saw, because down low is some really, really tough meat on these things. It's the really tough fibers that hold the tree up. You'll find if you're cutting up trees that the last 10 inches or so of tree, foot of tree, is super tough compared to the rest of it, the rest of the way up. And not to mention, you'll sometimes, rocks and stuff will grow up into the tree from getting pulled out of the ground and whatnot. So you don't want to get too close to the bottom, just want to saw it off to keep the machine from being here all day cutting on this thing. So I'm gonna grab the saw and knock that out. When sawing off a stump, sometimes the stump, if it's a big stump and it's heavy, it'll sit on your saw and kind of bind up your chain.
what you need to keep that from happening, well, you can do it several different ways. You can start in the middle and go around it and cause all the sawdust to go in the middle of the log. But the easiest way to do it is get you a couple wedges and knock them in there to keep the weight off your saw. So.
Anyway, that's all I'm gonna do for today. Got some more stuff I gotta go do. I appreciate y'all watching. Be sure and like and subscribe. Let me know if you like this content, or if you want me to go back to the wrenching on cars and stuff. But anyway, appreciate y'all. Check out.